The recording comes out automatically.
People, could we all join together and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all. Thank you very much. So call to order the January 11th, 2022 meeting of the Board of Finance. Before we go to public comment, this is the only speech and the first speech that you'll hear from me, and it's going to be very, very short. I just want to welcome the new members, especially very special welcome to John Lennon and Dan Carter and Bobby Jo Beers, if she appears, and even if she doesn't. I'm home because I'm, building up those antibodies against my recent COVID. I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts about the board and our communication, that we all are equal. We all will have opportunity to speak. That if any of you have an issue with the Roberts rules or the following or whatever, please call a point of order. Feel free to do that. And so we can look at it. And I just want to say that I just want to make sure that we respect everyone's opinion, and that we just keep in mind that a no vote doesn't mean that a member is negative or an obstructionist, and a yes vote doesn't imply that a member is a spendthrift or a prodigal of taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. So that's what we're doing. And so let's get right to the first thing, which is public input. And if anyone's in the room to speak, Dion will see them. And if anyone is on the panel that wants to speak, please make yourself known. You see anyone, Dion?
No.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, good. So correspondence, there is none that I know of.
No.
Okay, good. So we're going to go right to the approval of consideration for approving the minutes from the December 14th meeting. If you've had a chance to review them, give you another minute to do so.
Cynthia, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the December 14th minutes as presented.
Okay, second.
I'll second that. Thank you. John Lennon.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Indicate by saying aye. All opposed? Okay, that carries. Approved. Okay, so next we're going to have Paula Usher is going to present the so for the consideration of the tax relief for the elderly and disabled. Paula.
Thank you, Cynthia. Hope you all got the packet. I'm going to start with the current ordinance. What I'm looking for is an increase in the brackets, which are on the second page of the ordinance page for the upcoming year, which starts in February. The bracket amounts on the packet that says State of Connecticut, and it would be the first portion that says the homeowners. That would be the incomes that would be increased. So on the ordinances, the 18,100, 0 to 18,100 would now be 0 to 19,100, and so forth. That increase is the increase that the Social Security was bumped up so that we don't lose anyone out of the program. The other paperwork that I provided were the statistics for the past year along with the other years, just so that you can see the running total of what the program costs each year and how many people benefit from it, how many were denied. This is what we do every year. That's all I have. So any questions?
Cynthia, I do, Paula, this is the most we can give,
The
right?
48,000.
State statute, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Yeah. You guys, Cynthia, I'm just gonna talk to the board. You guys understand what?
Yeah, let me just clear something up. I just want to say from now on, I'll look at the people in the panel, but Nick is right there. So, for the people who are physically present, just call on people or start talking. Because I can't see you.
Is there anybody else present have any comments?
The only comment I have, and I think it's a great tool to try to keep our elderly.
Can you raise your hand, please, when you have a question? John Lennon?
No, Matt, it's not funny. The only comment, thank you, Nick. The only comment that I want to say is, I think as a board, we should give every tool to our elderly community, every elderly couple or family that we keep in their home in Bethel. They live in the community they grew up in, and I think as long as we can keep them to afford to live in Bethel, it's an asset to our community.
Thank you.
The only thing I would add to John's comment is that this program, I think, is very successful. We will do a great job in outreach to folks. It's one of the many tools that we use. I think we need to make it clear that the program's there. We do other subsidies for the elderly and disabled. I think in total it comes up almost $1 million a year of tax abatement. I think that just shows this board's willingness and desire to support our citizens who are tremendous assets, right? They're important factors.
And you're almost one of them.
I am.
Working out well.
Okay. So as another person on the precipice of elderliness, I also appreciate this, should I ever need it someday. So are we ready to make a motion to accept the tax relief as presented for the elderly and disabled?
I'm sorry, Cynthia, Bob had one more question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Included in the package was the elderly tax abatement committee notes, and I wasn't sure if we planned to talk to these.
I'm not even aware of that.
That was all that was just information to kind of share with the new members of what this was. And it was just there. It was part of the packet that I had.
From previous years.
Yeah, last year.
Just there for information.
And the reason why I bring it up was I was actually on that committee. Two chairmen, Bruce Corner, appointed me to the committee. So I've got a little bit of familiarity with it, right? This is what that committee, at the time I think Bob Kozlowski was the chair of the committee. This is what the committee came up with for suggesting to the board of selectmen how we might want to modify the program. So I just wanted to explain why this piece of paper was in that. To the extent, Paul, you don't think you need to discuss now, no worries.
Yeah, I wasn't aware it was in there.
Yeah, that's good. It gives the background. I remember that commission or committee.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any comments?
Does anybody want to make a motion?
So, Madam Chair, if I can make a motion that we approve the tax relief for the elderly and disabled as presented by Paula.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carries. So next on the agenda. So this is split up into two things. Now, the first one, they're both about Clark Park, consideration of the expansion in the proposed amount of $872,633. I was present at the Board of Selectmen meeting, so I know what that means. That's the town's portion, and the next item will be the total project total. So let's talk about consideration of the Clark Park expansion and the proposed amount of $872,633. Janice or Mike?
Yep, Cynthia, can we just clarify something real quick?
Yes, sure.
The first thing on the agenda is the 872. That would be the town of Bethel side. And the 1.2 is actually the contract with the lowest bidder. So
Yes.
that's, okay, just to be
Got
clear.
it. I didn't clarify with that.
Well, if I
Yes.
may-
Yes, Mr. Ex officio.
I apologize. You guys don't have to vote on the 1.2. That was an item that was inadvertently copied over from the Board of Selectmen's agenda because it was the bid award for the contractor. So you can disregard that, and my apologies, I didn't catch that.
Okay. I thought it was changed, but I didn't know if something had changed. So I'm gonna cross that out. Do I have to make some sort of verbal motion, Dion, to do that, or will that, do
No,
we need to get it off the agenda? Let me do it.
no, you just get.
Okay, good. Okay, so we are going to confine ourselves to the item that I just stated. Consideration of the Clark Park expansion, the proposed amount of $872,633.
And-
Cynthia, am I good to go?
Yeah. Matt, what did you want to say?
Well, I just wanted to introduce the topic, especially for our new members. This is a project that has been probably about 20-25 years in the making. It was, the park was never fully built out to its original plan because for a number of reasons. One of the biggest one was lack of water. So that was, it was one of the issues that we had to deal with very early, starting in 2011, 2012. You remember the whole discussion about the water department. There was a vote about the water to turn it over to aquarium that was turned down. So town spent about 6 years following that, revamping the water system, putting in new pumps, new storage, new wells, refurbished the old wells, put in new valves, several new thousands of yards of new water main. Bottom line is we have the fire protection that we need now. And the last part of the puzzle was obtaining a grant from the State Department of Economic and Community Development, DECD, which thanks to our delegation, the 2 senators and 2 representatives who represent Bethel, we won that award. And I want to thank Janice, Chris Janik, and our delegation for that, because that took months and months of work. So we have an award in the amount of $637,000 to move forward with this. And because the town of Bethel was the developer, we have to put the infrastructure in place before we can sell the lots. So with that, I will turn the floor over to Mike Boyle to go into the detail on that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. This is not the first time I've been in front of the Board of Finance, and I appreciate you taking the time to consider this tremendous project on behalf of the town. We've been involved with this, as Matt said, for many years. I've been chairing EDC for over 10 years, and this has been the fruition of 10 years worth of work with the members that we have to finally get to the point where we are able to now go to market with 4 lots once we provide the infrastructure that is in front of you from a financial standpoint. We do have information. I just want to, I'm not sure if everyone is up to speed. We're looking at 4 lots. The lot sizes range from, we have a couple of lots at 3 acres. We have one that's 4.5 acres. And then the smallest lot is 2.5 acres, all approximate. And we have right now, the bid situation, we have the timeline, as Matt had said. It was quite the effort for us to get the support from the state in terms of the funding that we currently have at $635,000. The way this timeline works, we're kind of on a fairly tight timeline, meaning we have a bid, which is for everyone here. We put out to bid pre-COVID numbers that would basically cover what we needed at that time. And we informed the state, because the state up to this point has been paying 50% of the cost. So the engineering that went into this, the core samples to make sure that we're okay with the rock, everything that the state has, they have paid 50% of the cost as we've gone along. And then once we got the original bids pre-COVID, the state was, we applied to the state at the time for an amount of $635,000. Well, after COVID, the low bidder at the time could no longer honor the bid. No surprise there. So the fair thing to do at the time was to go out to bid again and get refresh prices. As a result, the low bid was TD and Sons for $1,213,000. That bid was vetted with Malone, with our town engineers. We had a subcommittee that went through the bids, and we came to the conclusion, and we had interviews with TD and Sons, that TD and Sons was more than capable of handling the job. So therefore, we recommended, EDC did, as a result, recommended that to the procurement committee, who in turn approved it. And then from there, we've also spoken with TD and Sons to explain through them the process, because the process for us, which is the procurement committee, the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, town meeting. Once we have that, the state will review all of our information, including the bids, to approve their contribution of $635,000. But they won't consider anything or enter into any contracts with us that, and Marty is in possession of the information that we've received from the state on the contracts, until we as a town agree to pay our portion of this project. The project itself, right now, the state contribution is $635,000, looking for the town contribution of $872,000. So now that brings the project cost to a total of $1.5 million. The lots, and that's on the expense side, and we're hoping, if everything goes well, that sometime in late spring, if timing works out, that we can have this project hit the road and basically get our lots done. And if all goes well and we get the project completed by the fall or sometime in the late fall, we can then we have the sales for lots for sale, and hopefully secure some sales before year end. That would be the ideal situation. We are on the clock with the low bidder of TD and Sons. The big concern that they have, and as well as all the other companies, that respectable companies that made responses to the bid, is that there's a lot of unknowns. We're all very familiar with supply chain, inflation, and making sure that there's enough product and labor to be able to accomplish the product. So right now, the TD and Sons has agreed to give us into March to hold the bid, and that's why we're kind of on a tight line, because short of that, then we have to potentially consider another rebid, which this is the second time around. We certainly want to avoid that. Now, the exciting part that we see, and we have some even more current information, if you take a look at the per acre price, this information was provided by Malone and McBroom back in 2015. Now you may say, well, that's, it's stated information. At the time, they came to us with the estimate of 125,000 per acre. And basically it's a question of doing the math in terms of based on the size of the lots. And then with that, they also gave us the estimated yearly tax revenue once we have some structures on the property. So now, more recently, okay, we have, I don't know who's controlling the documentation. We have I want to go to the portion of the current sales. Current sales, where's the current sales? Okay. I'm sorry.
Is that on this document or no?
No, it's probably, oh, no, that's on, I have, that's not on that document, sorry. So let me.
It's on the last one that Janet gave us.
Yeah, no, this is, we got,
got.
so we have an update on I have it here. I'll just go through it. In this month, just closed, 6A Clark Park, 0.67 acres, 389,000. That represents a 208,000 sale price per acre. 6A last January 2021 sold for 375, representing a $200,000 per acre. 4 Trowbridge, okay, for 475,000. That represented $129,000 per acre. And then just, we also had something more recent from Newtown in terms of a lot that sold for 500,000. And that came in between 125 to 142,000. So it looks like our estimates from Malone, based on current sale data, actually may be low. Now, recognizing that this is an assumption, I don't want to sit here and pretend to tell anyone that we're going to get more than what that they're estimating, because based on what is being estimated, the town profit, assuming the numbers hold, after paying off the loan that the town would have for our portion of the construction, we're looking at a profit of $777,000 over, less the 6% for the lot sale price. Timing for this, actually, as it turns out, couldn't be better. Right now, I own property in the park. My building is 100% full, and Advantage Realty with Mike Struna is calling me once a month saying, is there any change in the tenant situation? Because there is no space available in the park, per Mike Struna, okay? We also have interest that has been expressed from a number of organizations, company-wise. A company in Danbury, a manufacturer, has some interest on the bigger lot. So there's people that are waiting to see, you know, timeline wise. That's why we want to try to push, because we want to strike while the iron is hot. We have a full park. It's been a tremendous asset for the town. We want to grow that asset, grow our tax base, and add to the general list. So this is an investment that's been a long time coming, that we're very excited about. And I think it's going to be, considering the state contribution, it's a home run, at least from our standpoint. Many of you know some of the members on EDC. We have Roy Steiner, who's been a major developer here in the town of Bethel. We have walked the property. We have gotten the engineering reports, environmental reports. There's been so much background work on this project that we're just very proud to bring it to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, and hopefully gain the support in order for us to move forward so that we can deliver the goods back to the town and ease the pain on grant and increase our grand list, as well as bring back some profit to the town based on the what we're seeing. And I'm actually was very surprised to get some of this current information that's pushing the per acre price higher than the Malone estimates. But as they say, everything we're looking at, with the exception of what's been sold, is an estimate. So that is a brief but quick overview of the projects, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Cynthia, if I can start.
Please.
Mike, you talked about a couple properties that recently developed. Exit 11 is a piece of parcel that has no rock on it, and it literally is straight across from exit 11. So to compare that to Francis A. Clark Park all the way in the back with 50 feet of rock that has to be taken out, I don't think is a really good comp. I know I'm not a real estate agent, but you know, location, 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 they say. So I'm not sure why we picked exit 11 for a gas station lot. to use it as a comp, I think that's what you're projecting.
Well,
to do.
no, I mean, we're trying, it's difficult to find commercial property in terms of comps. So that was thrown into the mix. I'm less worried or thinking about exit 11 Newtown, since we obviously have, that's up to Newtown, but.
I only mentioned it because you mentioned it, so. But
Right,
those-
okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm taking, I take more homage in the current 6A pricing that we've seen. And keep in mind that, the real question is 125,000, the estimate that we got from Malone back in 2015, is that a good number? I mean, to be honest with you, it to me, based on what we see now, I feel more optimistic, just being honest. But yet, if it's not a good number, the town profit, even if the town profit cuts down in half of what the estimates are, and we are able to get the tax revenue on the books for the rest of our lives, I don't see any way, when you kick the tires on this deal, that there's a downside for us as a town.
Okay, and the lot next to Bethel Power that Jay Moody cleared the rock a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
number 4, I believe. He spent almost 300,000 to get the rock out of there. So he's
Right.
way underwater on that lot, and that lot has been sitting there for a year. So was that in your calculations of these other lots? You've got 380,000. In your calculations to make those buildable lots, did they have in consideration of tearing all that rock down?
Well, first of all, we had, they did do boring into the lots to see exactly what we had to deal with. And the engineering reports came back saying that these are all buildable lots. And there was nothing extraordinary as it relates to any rocks on any of the reports that we saw. I'm not saying not any rock, but the sections of the actual lot that's buildable did not seem to be an issue. In fact, when we originally looked at the project, we originally looked at 6 lots, but it came down to a couple of lots because of the rock we could not go forward with. So we basically stuck to only those areas of land, because if you look at the actual maps, we have a lot more land, but we're also practical. We can't look to build land on rock. So therefore, we're fairly confident, and that's what the reports bore out to us.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Matt, did you have something on
I
that?
believe that lot that you mentioned, Jay Moody's, has been sold. In fact, I
Well,
think it's-
and I could speak of that because I know Jay Moody very well.
Yeah.
He took all the rock out, whatever he paid, $375, whatever he paid for it, then he spent the money on the rock. He sold it to a company down there, Tweed and Brown. They're like a lawn doctor. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, so Jay Moody held a mortgage on it, sold it to those individuals.
Yeah.
They went out and talked to Verdi, Hawley, they talked to a bunch of construction and realized that the price that they paid for a lot and for the building, it wasn't feasible. So they put it back on the market. So it may look like it's sold and then bought and then sold. It's back on the market because they can't afford to put the building in there. And so my only concern is if someone's going to pay for 350,000 for a lot down there and they have rock to take out for 200,000 or 300,000, how can anybody build a building?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's just the concern. I want to build a grand list, but I don't want to go ahead and spend $1 million for, and then have them sit for 20 years because no one can afford to put a building on it. Why does Jay Moody's land still empty over a year? So that's my own reservation.
So just about that property itself, Teed and Brown bought that property and they were going to build on it, but they found another property in Clark Park that already had a building, and based on their timing for expansion, they decided to buy that building. They recently put that building back on the market, and it's actually closing on Thursday. And not only was there one offer on that property, there were multiple offers on that property. So that's why Teed and Brown didn't continue building that property, because they found another property that was already built. I think steel was an issue for them to build that building, and there was a month backlog on steel. So they really needed to get into a building. So they found another building and then put that property on the market again.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Okay, so
Sure.
Dan, so you're talking
Hold
about
on.
the meeting lot, right?
Right.
Okay,
Well,
Yeah, that's 6A. That's 6A Francis Clark Circle. Yep.
Jay just held a mortgage up.
yeah.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. So just looking at available, I just wanted to clarify with Mike, when you say that it's full to capacity, are you talking about leasing, that there are no available spaces to lease?
Yeah, right now, the Advantage Realty, who covers most of the park, has tenants that they don't have space for. There's, like I've never seen the park so full. So
Okay.
my building in this year is the first year that I'm completely full, and I have people looking to try to expand.
Okay.
It's great.
Okay, because I've just been looking online in office space, and I don't know how current that is, but it says that that in Bethel, generally, there's 51 commercial spaces for lease, and that in the past 30 days, that 3 spaces have been leased. It also says, and I'm just asking, if you go to officespace.com, it seems like there is a lot of spaces in Francis Clark Park. So you're speaking to your building, right? You're not speaking
No,
about.
I'm speaking to the park, having spoken with Mike Struna this week, who has no spaces available in the park. Now, tomorrow there might be a small office available. Next week there could be another office available.
Okay.
In
13.
general, I would
13
not necessarily rely on potentially dated information about the state park as a suggestion.
All right. It's just coming up. So I mean, the on live real estate things, and the ones that the 6A, obviously, the ones that are coming up for sale, the ones that you're talking about, those lots. So I just want to ask Nick, because Nick and I were talking about something, and I would just like him to explain it, because to me, if the idea is to grow the grand list and realize those tax dollars, there might be another way to look at this. And Nick, would you mind talking about that?
Well, I was, as a small business guy, what we're trying to do is grow the grand list here. I think that's all what we're trying to do. And my idea was, instead of having the town on the hook for $1.4 million, $1.5 million, and then paying 6% commission, paying $10,000 to advertise it, you guys all have the paperwork. What if we just gave the property to somebody? Let them develop it. Tomorrow, Paula can write a tax bill for that guy that owns the property. And then when the guy builds a road, because it's an approved site, approved building, approved subdivision, then when he builds a road, then we tax him on that. And then when he sells the properties, then they're on the tax roll. And we have no liabilities here. We don't have to pay 6%. God, man.
The answer to that is, as a developer, we have to build out the infrastructure before you can sell a lot or give a lot away. The same thing is when the Steiner company built out Chimney Heights. They had to put in the roads first. They had to build out the infrastructure before a lot could be transferred. So because the town of Bethel is a developer, we're the ones that have to do that. So that's, and just, if I just want to throw in that.
Well, but what I'm saying is, when they built out, when they built out Spring, a farmer owned it. They grew hay, and a guy came and bought it, and then he built it out. Why couldn't the same thing happen? It just happened to be the town of Bethel that owns a bunch of rock down there. If we just sold it to him for $1, make a quick contract, and let the guy have all the liability. Let him build. We know what the road's going to be. It's $1.2 million. We know what all the commission's going to be. Let them take all the heat. And then as everything comes on board and developed, then we just get the money.
I don't know that passes muster legal. I mean, we don't have Marty on the line, but
Here's something we can look at, couldn't we?
well, here's the problem is you're up against the deadline with the grant.
I understand there's a grant, there's $600 grant. We wouldn't even have to take that grant, and I know it's specifically written for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, so, I understand that we're talking about either taking the grant or not, but we can almost just be free and clear, give the land to TD and Sons, let them develop it, sell the lots, and as everything comes on board, we just have to have a cash register set up. You know, that.
If I may, before Matt, before you say anything, and Nick, when you're finished, I would like to ask a question and make a comment. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm done. Go ahead.
yeah, so the reason I like this idea, because I'm saying if the idea is to grow the grand list, this is like a chia pet of grand list growth. I mean, it's just going to happen overnight, literally. Isn't that what developers do? And anytime, for me, anytime that that government doesn't have to be a land developer is a good time, I don't really know why we would want to even be in the business of doing that if there is another quicker way. Because the way that it's laid out here with these estimates, based on what Nick said about these two properties that are used as comparisons, it could take, maybe you could say at the end of the fall, you'll be able to put them on the market, but nobody's going to build in the winter. Who's going to buy something until the next spring? So you're already a year and a half out. So I guess I don't understand. And also I know this comes up a lot with these projects, and I appreciate all the work that's been done, but just because something's been on the table for a long time doesn't necessarily mean I take it from starting from now. I don't take it, looking at the past 30 years. And with all due respect to Matt, we don't know. We don't know anything about what contractual things could be possible. So it just seems like it might make sense to try to explore that. And it's not throwing away a grant. It's just doing something that's more expedient and immediately a bonus for the town.
To be
Yeah,
honest, just
anyway.
to make a comment. First of all, the entire park has been built in partnership with the state of Connecticut from the get-go. We are following the same blueprint and doing the vetting out of the process that we have done when the park was initially stated. And I don't think that anyone can sit back and say that the park has not been a success and an asset and a contribution to the town. So
No one said that.
but right now, I feel better having a roadmap, which we are defining right now, that it ends up in both giving profit back to the town as well as adding to the grand list in terms of yearly tax revenue. The speculation of maybe finding somebody that wants to come in to develop. Well, no one has banged on the door, and we've had this property available as town property for at least my time, which is 10 years, and as Matt said, 25 years. We've had one inquiry from any developer looking to say, hey, how about giving me the land and allowing us to go develop? So those people are not aware.
Because that's an unusual arrangement, and probably who would think to ask? I mean, it's an unusual arrangement, but if you, yeah.
Well, but right now, it's like today, for the sake of this meeting, and I realize that you guys really have to look at the dollars, not necessarily the rock or the engineer. I mean, that's why we paid consultants to go do that work for us and tell us that we have buildable lots. So this is the proposal that we have in front of the Board of Finance that we are asking for support.
I understand that, but also there is something that I mean, it's just a pet peeve of mine for many years is, we're against the tight deadline. Now you're saying, and I didn't remember this, that you've been working with the state to develop the entire park. So now it's almost like there's a loyalty issue or some sort of, unspoken contract with the state. Like you don't want to diss the state by not accepting their grant. Is that what it is? Because I
don't think I said that.
No, you didn't say it, but you said you've been working with the state all along, which makes me think that.
Well, the town has been working. Let me just correct Cynthia. The town has been working with the state in the development of Clark Park for 35 years, well before my involvement. My involvement has been for the last 10 years, and the commission has been working diligently on getting the support from the state. And let's keep in mind, to this point, the state has already contributed the money so that we could deliver a project that they're behind, that we've done the environmental study. I mean, we had to do, I mean, without going into all the detail, dealing with the state is extraordinarily challenging. And in terms of engineering studies, in all the work that it would be required to take raw land and be able to, that's owned by the town, and be able to turn that into buildable lots that we can see an immediate profit upon the sale with people that are currently interested in. But once again, interest does not represent a sale, but it's encouraging that there's interest. And the reason there's interest, it's not because we're looking to potentially hand it off to somebody else to develop, is because they're looking at a town that delivered Clark Park 35 years ago with sewers, with electric, with roads, with water. The thing with Matt said, I don't want to underscore that. One of the reasons that the water project was that we knew for the future development of the park, we would need that water. And without that water, we wouldn't even be here today. So this is not something that is, I don't want us to try to shoot from the hip and say, what about this, what about that? If there was another way, I mean, I'm not aware of another way, and this is a deliverable today.
Mike, I just have one more question, and Matt, go ahead. I'm sorry, you're right. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to, first of all, we got a hold of Marty. He's going to try to log on, and maybe he's, yeah, I haven't seen him yet. I want to give you guys just ask you to look at the practical consideration of what you're saying. First of all, Newtown is doing something like this with Fairfield Hills. And they're saying, so they acquired this thing from the state. They've got all these buildings. I don't know if you've been there recently. They've got fences around them because chunks of concrete have fallen off. They've got trees growing through the roof. And anybody can go in there and for $1 get one of those buildings, and nobody is doing it.
There's asbestos, Matt. There's a lot of reasons why they're
Okay,
not.
I know, but here's the practical consideration. You've got 4 lots. What we're asking somebody to do, we're making a, we would make an offer and say, all right, Teton Brown, whoever, come on over here. We'll give you this lot. Oh, but you guys have to build out the infrastructure. So you can't even begin until you've got 4 people committed, and then they can't take possession of their property and do anything for it for up to a year. The practical consideration is there's almost 0 chance that that's ever going to happen. And we wound up, here's the other thing.
If one person took it all and did
Yeah.
and then sold them, that would work, right?
But how could they justify $1 million, okay, the cost of
The
building.
town's justifying it, so now.
May I finish, please? How could they justify handling the cost of an infrastructure, which right now is $1.2 million, and it's only gonna go up, we know that. Then they have to build out their own property. For practical considerations, if you pass on this opportunity and the grant goes away, we will probably not ever develop that part of the park.
I can
That's my
appreciate that.
opinion.
I can agree with that. But you can't blame us for asking questions.
No.
We're just talking, Matt. We're just talking.
So I
Understand.
come from a unique situation here. I actually approved this subdivision. I just got finished 20 years on planning and zoning. So I'm very familiar with Mike and Janice and dealing with the whole subdivision. And I was supportive of it. The only thing that while I was approving the application, I kept thinking it costs a lot of money to develop the individual lots. So I'm going to veer off for a second and talk about what Nick's idea was. Nick's idea was to get 4 owners together and come up with a great idea to put a road in. Nick's idea or vision was getting a developer to develop the subdivision, okay?
Or
Having the town accept the road as a town road and having 4 lots pinned and then start selling the lots individually. That's what a developer does. You don't get 4 individuals that want to create a building. You get a developer to create the infrastructure, then you pin the lots, and then you put the for sale signs up. But in addition to just putting the for sale signs up, you take some of the rock from the right side and you use it as a fill on the left side. So you're using the material within the site to make the site a little better site. So that's where Nick was going. It wasn't a bad idea, but it wasn't four individuals deciding they wanted to have their business in Bethel. It was one developer, a subdivision, just like somebody would do a residential subdivision or a commercial subdivision or a TOD downtown, okay? So the vision wasn't way out there. It was, I think, just misunderstood where he was going with
All
it.
right, I got you.
So this is where I want to get back on my thoughts. Janice or Mike, this is going to be a question for you. The grant that, congratulations on getting the $637,000 grant. I think if the town of Bethel doesn't take a gift like that, then the town of Naugatuck or the city of Hartford will get it. So congratulations on winning that. And obviously somebody spent a lot of work doing the homework and writing that grant. That grant, is it written solely for the expansion of the industrial park, or is it to grow the grand list wherever we grow the grand list in the town of Bethel?
The grant is strictly for the development of these 4 lots.
Okay.
Like the original DEC grant 35 years ago. to build-
Correct, like the original,
That's
specifically
why-
for these 4 lots.
that's why DEC was created as an
Okay, great.
entity to handle it.
Okay, so that answer is going to make me support what possibly we might get tonight. But my question, Mike, I heard you say to Nick, or when Nick was having the discussion, that this shouldn't be about rocks or about a desirable lot or comparing it to Newtown. My next problem is, if we're going to sit here as a board and approve $837,000 of taxpayer money, we want to get that back in the checkbook as soon as we can. My question is, I think we're a little misled on what the value of these lots are. I would be, and I know it's not our decision as our board, it's the EDC to decide what the lots are worth. I would feel much more comfortable spending the taxpayer dollars if the vision was to get these lots sold as soon as possible, almost for no profit, to get them on the tax roll, because I think we're really, I'm concerned that it's $400,000 or $500,000 to make this lot a lot after the road is cut in there. And my fear is our $837,000 sits there for years, not being developed, because we have a hope that the lots are worth, I can't believe $567,000, for, you have lot number 3, value that. And then if you put a price tag of $400,000 or $500,000 to break the rock, so you're at $1 million before you spend $200 per square foot to put a steel building up. So all of the rock and all of the hardships on developing each lot is important to this board, or it's important to me, because I feel like we're going to spend $837,000 of the town money, and I want to get it back in the checkbook as soon as possible. And to think that you could get 567 and make a profit of $770,000, I would be much happier, or yeah, 770,000. I'd be much happier if the EDC thought, hey, we want to get these things on with the sale and sold to get the buildings, at a reasonable price.
I couldn't agree with you more. And keep in mind, everything that we're working from is based on data that was supplied either by Malone or more recently in terms of this recent sales of what has actually happened. And as I said earlier, even if we ended up cutting the price in half in order to put it on the grand list, in order to sell the lots, we still come out with a profit because of the grant of $635,000. The last thing we need to see is to have these lots languish and not be able to collect the money from the sale of the lots. Once we have that road built and we have that infrastructure, based on the feedback that we are getting of interest and the status of the current park, people are interested in buying it. We haven't published a price. Right now, this information we're sharing with you is what we have been given as a guide in terms of being able to establish the price. Well, once we have the actual infrastructure built and we look at that market, we know we have the room to cut the price and yet still deliver a profit in order to get it on the grand list. It's more important to me. That's why I'm in agreement with your statements, because it's more important to me to get it on the grand list. I'm less worried about, the size of the profit to the town, because our goal at EDC is get the lot sold, pay back the loan from the town. And the profit that's there, add that to the bucket of money that we have as a town, and to get that estimated yearly tax revenue every year for the rest of our life. That's our goal. So
Mike, could I just jump in for a second, please? I want to a little more clarification, because, I think we all want the same thing, honestly. It's just, we're taking the rocky road together. How can you gauge interest level when you can't give even a price? Like, how can you gauge the interest if you're not having a price in mind? Like, how are people just like, who?
No,
what kind
I
of
mean, people, Cynthia, people have been inquiring because this information has been public. It's been in the papers over the course of the last number of years. Janice has been getting inquiries. But, our position has been, we don't have anything to sell yet. Okay, we only have land that we're trying to position so we can sell. And we have people that have expressed interest. And once the next step, once this is hopefully approved, we can then move forward to actively start conversations and where it takes us. And
Cynthia, Brad would like to add something. Go ahead, Brad.
More of a statement. If this goes through and we have a contract with TD to do the site work, I think it'd be prudent to try to gauge interest immediately while you have a vendor on site, all their equipment. Somebody might be more interested in buying the property, knowing that TD, maybe they'd want TD to do any site work while they're there.
To save some costs.
Yeah.
I agree. Totally agree. On the same page.
Matt, I see Marty's on the line. Do you want
Martin?
to? Marty.
Yeah. Marty, can you hear us, Marty?
Yeah, Marty's getting on, and Matt's getting him on, I believe.
Marty, you're muted.
Yeah.
Marty, you're muted if you're trying to speak.
I think you can unmute.
Yeah, you're still muted, Mark, if you're speaking. I know there's no video there.
There it is.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Marty. Yep, you're muted again.
He just muted himself.
Dion's taking care of it. Let's just wait to see what happens. Are there any other questions or comments while Marty's getting unmuted?
Cynthia, I think John had one more thing, okay? So
Yeah, go ahead, please. Take care of
My
that.
question is directed to you. As the chairman of the EDC, is it in your opinion that the rest of the commission should be motivated to sell the lots as soon as possible, meaning would massage the price to make it happen sooner than later?
You're muted, Mike.
Mike, you're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
All right. I'm sorry. Would you mind repeating the question? It was garbled.
So my question is, as the chairman of the EDC, is it your opinion that the EDC is going to be aggressively trying to sell these lots sooner than later, and that would obviously massage the price? Is that your opinion?
That's my opinion, but I will also look, as our commission would look at, the advice of experts that are in the business from a real estate standpoint in terms of what we can get for these lots. We want to try to maximize our return, but we're not going to let, knowing that we have the room profitability wise to work with, unlike many other types of things I've been involved with, we have a great deal of flexibility to do something with the price. And I completely agree that the goal is sell a lots as quickly as possible, get it on the grant list and get them developed.
Mike, if I can add one thing, you're gonna depend on professionals, but you have to realize that they're making a commission and everything is worth so much more when they're making a percentage. So let that be part of the conversation.
I totally agree and I'm involved with commercial properties in a couple of areas and I have experience myself, and so does Roy Steiner and some of the other members on the commission. So we realize the right questions, at least I think we do, to ask in order to make sure we're securing the right kind of sale at the right price.
Okay, Mike Boyle, that's same pursuant to what John said, as the chairperson of that commission, will you be activated to try to get interest in sales while it's in progress? Like the minute you get, you'll get that word out that we're putting in infrastructure, no reasonable offer refused.
No, I mean, Cynthia, that's a fair statement that you're making because you're 100% right. I think right now, the hesitation that many people may have is the town hasn't approved this project. So once the project is approved, even before the shovel is put in the ground in the spring, we can start talking it up because I'd love to consummate some business if possible prior to. But right now, we have to get over this hump of the infrastructure.
No, I get it. I mean, that's what I'm thinking of, that it's almost like you're in this abeyance because it's like there is nowhere to move right now. So I totally get that. Okay, does anybody have any, because we might be, it might be time for trying your minds. So does anyone else have any comments, questions?
Cynthia, we have Bob that would like to say.
Okay, please.
Do we have an open question for Marty?
Well,
I don't have one.
I had asked Marty to join, maybe not, I asked Marty to join in about the legalities, or not the legalities, but the procedure of building up the infrastructure first versus giving the lots away, but I think we kind of resolved that. And Nick and John, I appreciate your comments. That was helpful.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so are we good then to? I think we are. Make a motion, go with this.
Yeah, who wants to make a motion to accept the consideration for the Clark Park expansion in the proposed amount of $872,633?
We'll make that
motion.
I would be happy to second Bob's motion.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Look at that. It's a beautiful world. Oh, Matt, did you want to ruin everything?
Madam Chairman,
Also, Mark,
Yes.
thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Madam
who?
Chair, it's Marty Lawler talking.
Yeah, Marty Waller.
Could you add another motion to tell us where the money's coming from?
Oh, yeah. Brad, it's coming from the
So-
fund balance?
It's up to the Board of Finance where it's coming from. My recommendation would be to use fund balance. Our fund balance in our annual report was over 23%. We have plenty to use fund balance for this, and it would be where it would come back to, would be fund balance upon the sale of items.
So based on Brad's recommendation, I'd like to amend the motion to approve the proposed amount with funding to come from the general. Point of order. I don't think you can amend the motion that's already been voted on. We have to make a motion.
Give me a second.
Yeah, we have to make a new motion.
Just a second motion, just to where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
So the second motion that the funding of the prior motion will come from general fund. And I like the second that.
Fund balance.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. Opposed? All right. Let's go sell some rock.
Thank you. Thank you, Board of Finance.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Okay, next on the hit parade, we have consideration of purchase, and thank you, Janet and Mike Boyle and Marty. Consideration of purchase of handheld radios for both volunteer fire departments in the proposed amount of $400,000. And should I not even amend it, but Brad, this is supposed to come from capital non-recurring. Should we approve it?
It can come from wherever you want to make the motion to take it from, but capital non-recurring would be the recommendation.
Cynthia, I'd like to make a motion for discussion that we
Yeah.
approve the 400,000 and for both departments and the money to come out of capital non-recurring. Do I have a second?
I would love to.
Very good. Let us discuss. Okay, is Patrick?
Tom's here.
Tommy Gallagher's
Tom,
here.
okay, Tom. Yeah, tell us everything.
Tommy and me.
All right, thank you, everybody. As you know, this has been an ongoing process for a few years. Just a little history. The current radios that the two fire departments use are 16 years old now. They're bought the same time that the Bethel Police Department's radios were bought. We upgraded the entire radio system 15, 16 years ago. So as you can tell, they're pretty well used. We've been looking at replacing them for the last couple of years. Stony Hill Fire applied. I applied on behalf of them back in 2015 for a FEMA Assistance with Firefighters grant. FEMA offers hundreds of millions of dollars for the fire department. That was denied based on the radios weren't old enough. They were 10 years old. They still kind of fell within their technology development. So we applied again in 2017 for both fire departments. There's some information that if you do a kind of a regional or multi-department grant, you have a better chance. We did that. We were denied because of lack of financial need. So we tried again last year. Spoke with Bob Manfreda last year about this time, actually in December. We want to bring this to the board again. And we applied again to FEMA for the grant for radios. I actually got information from Matt and Bob about trying to, play this off to FEMA, how we can afford this or why we needed to pay for it this way. And again, I sat on the board once down in Baltimore for a week. I took a week's vacation and I read the grants, and they're, the little town fire departments in Ohio and Pennsylvania that have nothing. That's what these grants are for. So we couldn't show the financial need. But we gave it our all to try to do that. So here we are now. It's 74 handheld portable radios divided up between the two fire departments. Basically, every seat in every fire apparatus will get one, as we currently have, and then all the officers, the chiefs, and the officers get one now. Pretty much a one-for-one replacement of what we have now. The radios we're looking at are the Motorola, same brand name we use now. Same brand name that the police department uses, the Board of Ed uses. A lot of our radio equipment at dispatch is Motorola, so as far as interoperability of the equipment should not be an issue with that. They're much more rugged radios nowadays. They're very, very expensive. They're a multi-band radio, so we can talk to other towns, whereas our current radios are a single band radio where we can only talk to Danbury and Reading. So now we'll be able to talk to Newtown, Brookfield, all the other area towns. So they'll be a lot more user-friendly. They're a lot more rugged. The pricing comes through utility communications through Motorola. Motorola has a state bid that fire departments can use, so that's where the pricing comes from. There was a price increase that I guess they didn't really relate to their vendors, but they're going to hold that price increase till January 15th. So they put it in as an incentive of like $54,000. So we're in the look, like a lot of other things, we're in a time crunch till January 15th to order the radios if it can be approved tonight. That's kind of the bread and butter of it. Equate it to using a 15-year-old cell phone. That's like an iPhone 1.
Easy, this is a 4.
Well.
Cynthia, I just have one question.
A shoe phone. Go ahead.
Is this analog or is it new technology digital? I mean, where are we at here?
We are still analog. They're digital capable. So in the event, and I think the police department may be looking at it down the road, all the equipment they put into the new police department is digital capable, and these radios are also digital capable. So
is that a software upgrade or something?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So that way, Yeah.
Cynthia?
I have an accounting question for
Sure.
Brad. Now, Brad, is there a reason that this might not be able to come out of COVID relief funds? What with it being safety for the town and getting those calls?
As an ARPA project. It could have been, it wasn't looked at by the committee because we felt it was kind of far down the line and we had other things in the pipeline.
Don't get me started on the splash park, Brad, but I will say that, are you saying that there's no chance that that could happen? That it's all in bronze, that all those decisions are hard clad? Is that what you're saying?
If we need to sign a contract with Motorola by the 15th, I think we'd have to take it from CNR or fund balance at this point.
Okay, so if we were to do that, would there be any chance of reconsidering that amount to be paid out of the COVID funds back to said funds?
Probably if we had an issue spending the ARPA money. We're still trying to get the bids of the items that are on our list. So
Look, here's where I'm going with this, because it's great that we have the capital non-recurring. It's great that we have all these COVID funds. The point is that, you know, let's use that money for stuff that we really need that affects everyone in the town. So that's where I'm going with that. I didn't think of that before because it was just sort of automatically assumed. So just tell me what's possible.
it's possible, but I don't think under timing it is possible.
Okay, again, it's hair on fire. I hate that. Go ahead, Matt.
I was just gonna say, it's a little bit of a long shot, but it's worth looking at. If we
Yeah, I
can
don't
get
think it is.
clarification on that, but one way or the other, whether we did CNR now and then applied it later, it kind of depends on how flexible those ARPA rules are, but we'll look at it, not a problem.
Right, I guess what I'm saying is, we know that they're pretty flexible because if the schools, if it can be used for HVAC and for ventilation and for all kinds of other safety things, you could make a case for it. I'm just saying that it just, to me, it seems like that would be the use of it. Now, we can approve this now and take it out of anywhere you want, but how can we, are we going on like your commitment to looking into it and reporting back and telling us? Okay, so very good. Anyone else have anything to ask? Or
Cynthia,
comment?
I just missed how that.
Yeah.
I did too. So what does that mean? Our motion, I believe, is. to take it
Was
out of
from
capital
CNR.
non-
So if you take
Yeah.
it out of CNR and then we decide to use ARPA funds from it, it'll just be reallocated. That
Okay,
you
good.
use it at another time. And the Cynthia's part, we do have to relook at ARPA because the EDC, the amount of money that was approved, they didn't use like 200,000 of it.
Yeah.
So we do need to readdress how we're using our first phase of ARPA.
Yes.
We've been trying to get the bid prices from doing the front hallway, and that's been
Okay.
slowing everything else ARPA. So that's why
Okay.
we're trying to then take a $400,000 bucket out of it before we know that first big piece that we're trying to do.
Totally get it. So even if it could be offset, it's just, you know, a thought. So, so should we remake make the motion or amend it to not specifically say, or should we keep it the way it is?
Cynthia, the motion was made to come out of the non-recurring, and then we had a
Yes.
second. And again, Matt and Brad agreed to
Right.
look at that, and then they can do
That's what
that.
I thought. Very good. We're gonna vote on that motion right here, right now. Okay, all in favor of that motion, please signify by aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're 3 for 3. Let's go. Thank you very much, Tom.
Now you're
All
talking.
right, thank you, sir.
Tom, thank you for all that effort.
Thank you.
Stayed after it really like.
Yeah, really. Okay, we have next, consideration of the heating circulation pump replacement at the municipal center in the proposed amount of $46,616. Is anyone making a motion for that?
Well, I just have a question. Is that the right dollar amount? Do we have to approve the total and then the rebate comes back? Is that how it works?
You have to approve the total because there's no
Yes.
guarantee what the rebate amount will be. And when the rebate comes in, it'll go back in the CNR, and that'll be money that'll be
And the
available.
selectmen's meeting thought it was gonna be 27 after the rebate, so,
Yeah, that's it.
so we're close to that? If-
Yes,
It's
that's what
42.
I understood.
So
I saw the dollar amount, but I watched the selectmen's
Yeah.
meeting.
And sometimes rebates take 6 months to a year, so, you know.
And is that
That's what I
also,
understood it to be too, so. Can we go with that motion?
make that my motion?
Cynthia, I think John wants to make a motion on that.
I just did.
Make it, John.
I
Okay.
make a motion that we fund $46,616 for replacement circulator pumps and take it out of our non-recurring funds that are quickly depleting.
Would anyone like to second?
And Bob, are you free to second that, Cynthia?
Very good. Okay, let's talk about it if you want to. Tell us everything, Matt.
I'd say move the
Matt,
question.
did you move else?
We'll move the question, but we know you need it.
Actually, I mean,
No.
some of us watch the select
Pretty-
meeting, is it really
Yeah.
14,000 savings in electricity?
Matt, do you want me to provide the background? This is Eric here.
I was just gonna say, Eric Swenson, DPW director.
Because some people don't know about it.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll just assume, well, okay, everyone can see the proposal I see. So the background is, so this is in the municipal center, obviously. Down in the basement, there's a pump room, and these pumps run the heating system for the building, actually various wings of the building. And the pumps we have are kind of traditional standard pumps. And my understanding is I don't know the exact age, but somewhere around 25, 30 years old, whenever the renovation was done last. And so they're in need of replacement. It's not as I said to Matt, it's not like a dire emergency, but they do need to be replaced. They're old and they are failing at a rate, they are failing. One of them did catch fire last year, so we had a problem with that.
That's an emergency, no? That's not an emergency.
A new definition of what's dying.
It's all relative, I guess.
I like it cold in my office, so I
Sure.
like
Well,
to
it's
heat
really
it.
cheap.
So the option that we're looking at is I would also consider it kind of an energy project as well. It's an energy saving project. So don't ask me to get into the details of how they work, but we're proposing to use these things called variable frequency drives. And what they allow the pump motors to do is to sort of turn off and on slowly, rather the traditional ones are just kind of always off or on, and it eats up a lot of electricity. So this one kind of smooths out those bursts of electricity need and thereby saves electricity. So they did an installation of this same kind of these VFDs in the high school last year. I believe it was successful. I haven't heard otherwise. And using that information, they were able to calculate for me an approximate energy savings per year, which came to about 13,000 and change. So based on that, it seems like a no-brainer. And plus, you also have the rebate. So I don't think I'm forgetting anything here. That's basically the story. They need to be replaced anyway, but we're recommending we go with the variable frequency drive so that we are doing an energy savings as well. Did I miss anything there?
So
That's up to people who have questions, if they do. Matt?
I think Matt has something.
I was just gonna say, you could get cheaper pumps, but by go with the variable frequency and adding in the 40% rebate and adding in the electrical savings, you're cheaper this way. It just makes all sense in the world.
Yeah, I would even call this a no-brainer, so I have no questions. Does anyone else?
Anybody
Should
here?
we
have any-
vote? Okay, let's vote. Are we voting? I can't see, I feel like I can't tell what's going on. So we're gonna vote now, right? Okay. Consideration of the heating circulation pump replacement of the municipal center in the proposed amount of 46,616,00. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, that Carries.
And the original motion said for CNR.
Yeah.
Right.
But that was the original motion, right? Okay.
Yeah,
I
he
think
just left out the from CNR, but I think Dan's original, John's original motion had it in it.
Okay, very good. Because that wasn't on the agenda, so I'm just bringing that down. Okay, next. Consideration to retain STV for project manager, owner, representative at the police firing range in the proposed amount of $49,447. And there's quite a thick report of proposal that was sent. And I believe, Matt, are you going to talk about that?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay, all right.
Give
Wait,
you the
I mean, yeah, so I was confused because I said it as an agenda item, then the presentation, then we make a motion?
I'd make a
Because now
motion
I'm-
that we approve the $49,447 for the hiring of the owner's rep for the police shooting range.
You're right.
Okay. Second?
From the CNR account.
Yeah, right.
Is that, it's there. It's not much. Brad's gonna let us know in the morning.
Yeah,
We're not
sleep on it, Brad. Second?
And I'll second the motion.
And Dan.
Very
has a
good.
second.
Okay, Matt.
Okay, just to give you the thumbnail version of this, built a police station. The guts of the firing range, as you know, was not included, so it was just an empty shell. Police station was completed to almost everything. Then we had a rainstorm, and we noticed, the police noticed that the moisture from the rain, when the wind blew, just went right through the concrete block wall. So about a year and a half's worth of testing and discussions ensued. We hired our own engineer to look at it. Downs Construction hired their engineer. Turns out the subcontractor who did it did their own engineering. But the bottom line was some of the blocks were not properly treated. They were used inadvertently. Some of the mortar was not treated. So Downs at their expense has coated the wall with plastomeric coating. It works. It has survived a couple of tests. It has survived a couple of heavy rainstorms. They also discovered a couple of loose flashings in the roof. So the problem is solved, and now we can proceed with equipping the firing range. Now, the reason that I proposed to the Board of Selectmen that we hire a professional management company to help us with this is it's not, as I'm sure you know, you guys have been in the construction business, but it's not just as simple as having the vendor come in and put, like having your garage door installed, Bethel overhead door comes and puts in the rail, and then you're all done. We need some architectural changes, some engineering work, needs a ventilation system that needs to be spec'd out properly to absorb the lead dust. It has to be a certain grade, meets certain specifications. There has to be some moisture control in there, even though the wall now works. And frankly, those are levels of expertise that are really outside of our experience and outside of our talent range. I mean, I certainly can't do it. And given what we went through with the construction of the police station in the beginning, and I think the results, the very good results we've seen of having an owner's representative on the school projects indicates to me that we really do need a project manager who is adept at this to tie these things together, write the specs, help us evaluate them, and give us good information. So it's my recommendation to the selectmen that they accepted that we bring in STV and specifically Geraldine Horoff. And I did not put this out for bid. It's below the bid amount, as you can see, but Geraldine has worked with the town of Bethel now for 2.5 years. She knows our committee, she knows our systems, she knows the police station, she's been over to look at it, and I think this is a way to save cost overall and rapidly get us up to speed, because I do believe that it is our best interest to have the equipment installed by this summer and have our police able to use the building that the taxpayers paid for. It gets the full value out of it. So it's Board of Selectmen's recommendation to this board that we approve this amount out of CNR funds to move ahead with the project. Thank you.
Cynthia, you're muted, but I just have a couple questions, and if I can ask Matt.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Obviously, there was drawings for the police department. And obviously they put up the structure for the shooting range. So is there engineered drawings for the shooting range equipment?
No, for the equipment, there is a bid that contains the requirements that has to go in there, but you hit the nail on the head. The actual engineering drawings to modify the inside of the building to make it possible to install it or not done. That was not part of it.
So how did they design the structure without an engineer involved to put the equipment in there? How do we know that structure is going to support everything? The filtration system, the
Well-
rails for the targets. I mean,
Right.
who
Well,
came up with that?
well, the architect did that, Humes.
So there is drawings for it.
I don't know that there's final drawings, but Humes did look at it and said, and Humes worked with the vendor, which I think is called First Target. So between the two of them.
They had an
First
idea
Target-
what was going in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They know exactly what the equipment is gonna be. So First Target said to Humes, you gotta support this much weight, you gotta have this much clearance, you have to have
Height,
room.
blah, blah, blah,
So,
right.
so that part of it was done, but actually constructing those features inside the building to make it possible to do that hasn't been done yet. It's not a lot of work, but, we've gone so far with this and we had so many problems, in the construction phase. I don't want, we rely on a committee of volunteers.
No, I get
So,
spending money.
yeah.
Except, and again, the only thing, so is this company for the 49,000 gonna make engineered drawings for it? Or just a spec sheet?
No, they're.
How's it gonna go out to bid?
It's gonna go out to bid. They're gonna do the specs to put it out to bid.
So they're gonna make drawings to send out, so there's something that people can bid against?
No, they.
Or
Gerald
is it
Lynn's
just a list of
company-
equipment we're asking for?
Gerald Lynn is gonna, she's a senior project manager with STV.
Mhm.
She's going to work with the architect, to have the architect do those drawings and the engineer.
So there's another fee besides the 49,000 for the architect? They don't, they're not gonna.
Hey, Matt,
Yeah,
can I speak? Is that all right?
yeah, go ahead. Who is that? Chief.
Hey,
Oh.
Nick,
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Yes,
Hey,
chief.
Nick, the range was always done as an add-on project through the whole process. So all the plans and stuff are already done by Brian Humes. So the hope always was as an add-on that we might have been able to afford to finish it at the end, which we all know wasn't the case. So all the plans are done by Brian Humes and was it Geraldine or Gerald Lynn? Actually, she's actually already been in contact with Brian Humes going over a lot of that stuff already. So.
So for the 49,000, they're just gonna run the project because the drawings are done already? And they're
That's what I
engineered.
understand. That's a question for Matt, but that's what I understand.
There's not gonna be another fee because there needs to be drawings done.
Carolyn's gonna review everything, so if she reviews it and says, you're missing this and this and this, as a project manager, there could be, especially since the plans are a little outdated now.
They shouldn't be any more. I mean, would, if she contacted Humes with a question, would he bill us for that, like a?
That's what I'm asking. We're gonna approve the money, but
Yeah.
is there gonna be another approval needed?
I have a question too.
I can't answer it for sure. There shouldn't be, but I can't guarantee. it.
Should we have asked that before you come and ask for money? I mean, you know what I mean?
Well, one way or the other, I need a project manager before I even know what the questions are and what engineering questions need to be answered.
All right, Cynthia?
Bobby Joe's.
Well, it's 50,000. That's for to manage the project from beginning to end.
Yes, that's correct.
So how it would be, so just to bring it to bid, to a position where it could be bid on, that would be less than 50, obviously, right? Like, is that, they're gonna do that incrementally, like, let's say they get it ready to bid, that we might be 15,000 into the 50? Is that how it's gonna work? The clock starts when we approve it? Because
Cynthia,
I see all
I
their
don't
fees.
think we understood the question, Cynthia.
Cynthia, are you asking if pricing is gonna be based on actual use? We're not just gonna
Yeah.
send them $1,000.
Oh,
Yes,
Oh,
I
no,
did see
no.
it.
Well,
somewhere.
I didn't think you're gonna do that, but I mean, it's gonna be based on their fee structure for the work they're doing, and 50,000 is the estimate for the whole project.
That's correct.
to manage it. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not going to go into all my emotional baggage about the police station, but I will commend you for actually hiring this person or wanting to hire this person. And I don't expect you to acknowledge this, but I've been saying this for a long time about the project manager. I really have. And I have a big file on the police station, and I wish, I'm not going to live in the past. I think it's really great that you have, decided to do that. If you're going to move forward with the firing range.
Bobby Joe's got her hand raised.
Oh, she does. Well, Bobby Joe, you just start talking.
Bobby Joe, you're muted.
I can't even see her.
I was just telling you that I was on. Sorry, there was no Wi-Fi.
Well, you're just in time for dessert. We're just serving coffee and dessert now, so.
I have a question for Cynthia. I just want to say, I appreciate your comments. Does this mean that you would back me if I ask these guys for another head count?
Stop with the hugging. Stop with the hugging.
Wow.
Really obvious.
That's all. That's all.
That's
All right.
Anybody else have anything?
I have a question. So I'm sorry, I may have forgotten the process, but when does the actual firing range project get approved?
Oh, it hasn't.
Right.
It hasn't.
So I'm wondering why we do this first.
Because we have to get specs and bids and deal with the architecture, whether there needs to be any modifications.
You come up with a dollar amount.
To come up, I think,
Right.
this is what, about 2 months ago, the selectmen gave this to the committee and said, okay, go get bids. And there's too many technical questions that need to be answered, and we need a specialist in this area, or else we can't even get the numbers that we need.
So then this person is going to get us to bid, will they also take us through finishing the project?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that number of 750 or 795 that we always threw around about finishing the firing range, that was just an estimate, that was not actually a proposal.
That was, Steve, if you're still on, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the price that was used by the architect several years ago, when it was designed and the original drawings were made. So
Yeah, back about, geez, 2 to 2.5 years ago, we had Rizzo just, and they just kind of did it as a favor to us because at the time they were starting the school project, to get us a general estimate of what it would take to finish the range. And at that time, now that's 2.5 years ago, it was about $650,000. Now, as we all know, what has happened with construction costs over the last couple of years, so I'm sure it's not going to be close to that. I'm not in construction, so I have no idea what it would be at. Nick, you probably would. So it's definitely a lot more than 650.
First number is going to be a 9, I'm sure.
I would-
Yeah, it's going to be $999.99.
Is any part of the equipment for the range itself on state bid, the target system?
Good question.
It's so specific, I would imagine it's not. Actually.
The big part of the project is the actual air handler system. If you look at it as thirds, it's like the air handler system, and then the range and the range equipment, and then the building itself. So out of that, Action Target is like the company that is, there's a few companies that do ranges, and they're one of them. And that's what we would be looking at. And then the rest of the stuff will be worked around that. And that's where you need a project manager to coordinate all that with, Action Target would be what is vendors in that. But the air handler system itself is, it's not only, clearing the air that's coming in and out, it's also the heat and cooling system as well.
Okay, I have a question. Based on is there a timeline in the sense of if Geraldine and her company comes up with the specifics to go to bid, do you have any idea when you might be coming back to, if it's under $1 million, to ask for the money, or to go to a special town meeting if it's over $1 million? Do you have any idea?
It was up to me next week.
Well, that's
I mean, we've only been waiting 3 years, so anytime soon.
I understand, but you know that it wasn't in the original. I mean, it was taken out because, people voted. And so I understand, but I guess the question is, and believe me, I think it's a great idea. I guess my big question is we're not under any sort of deadline for this. I know that you really want it, but right now, do you go and practice in Danbury? Is that what you do now? Practice at Danbury's
No,
range?
we don't practice anywhere. We had a range in the old building, but it got
I know.
shut down
But
because of
couldn't you-
OSHA. So we don't
but
have a
couldn't
range
you-
anymore.
Could you not practice at Danbury if you were inclined to practice?
No, they will not let us use their range.
Wow.
Neither will Southbury.
Yep, neither were Southbury
Brian,
anymore.
I think
That was an
Richfield,
outdoor range.
I think Brian said Ramapo is in Richfield. Did they let them?
That's a privately owned range. It would
Oh.
cost money to use.
Okay. I'm
So
just asking.
we qualify, we do the minimum just to qualify every year, but we don't do any additional training because we don't have our own range anymore.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Cynthia, before we lose Bobby Joe, can you pick me a pretzel up, Bobby? Bobby Joe's back on. Do you have anything you want to add? You're muted, Bobby. You're muted. You're good.
That's fine. Okay.
Mustard.
Spicy brown.
Okay. So aside from
There you are, Bobby. You have something to add, Bobby?
no. Okay.
No, I'm okay. I'd like to.
Okay.
We're good. I'm good.
Pretzels notwithstanding, let us vote now on this. Consideration to retain. Now, does this motion, do we say we're taking it out of capital non-recurring? Because I have the agenda in front of me and I can't remember if we said that
Yes.
in the motion. Okay, then I'm just gonna say, let's vote on that motion. All in favor signify by saying or raising your hand, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, there you go. It's a bonanza.
Yeah, and did you see Bobby Joe's vote?
Well, Bob, yeah, she's, okay, bye. Did you say yes? Did you vote yes?
Her vote was
Yeah.
taken.
Yeah, all right, very good. All right, carry on. Now we're gonna go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Let's go to the Comptroller's report. Always most festive.
So this is Comptroller's report as of the end of December. I reviewed it. Everything looks in line. The couple things that you may notice on the revenue side, the equal cost sharing, the school funding that we get from the state, we're only at 25%. I know you didn't anticipate 50%. They give you 25% like a month or two ago, and a couple months ago, another 25%. And at the end of the year, in like May, they give us the last 50. They don't straight line it. Conveyance is at 99% of budget right now. So obviously that's a positive. Park and rec revenue is at 46%, which is close to what was anticipated. And a lot of their revenue comes in the spring and summer for summer camp. The tax collection rate is at 63% right now. December of last year, which was our best collection year ever, was at 61.38%. So we were trending really well there. On the expense side, probate's always the same issue. We get the money at the end of the year, and tree warden looks out of whack. It's seasonal, so a lot of that money is spent in the summer. And those are the main issues on the Comptroller's report, other than whatever questions you have.
So are there any things that stuck out for you, Brad? Because it sounds pretty good and pretty basic.
No, just the things I went through.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Cynthia, Bob has something.
I did have a question on part of the Comptroller's report. Brad, thank you very much for handing out. what
I'm
I
gonna
thought-
talk about that next, but yeah, you can skip ahead.
No, I'll wait.
No, go for it. That's all part of the Comptroller's report. I also handed out the annual report, and it was emailed to anybody that wasn't here
Thanks
today.
for mentioning about
No, I was going to get it signed, but now I have something to read.
When you can't sleep, you want to read your
Just frequently. But look, thank you again for sending it to us. mean that genuinely. There's a tremendous amount of information in this. And when you sent it, I just kind of flipped through it. There are a few things that I look at in this report as kind of touchstone matters. And the very first thing that hit me was the organization chart, and I noticed it was changed. And I wanted to get your thoughts on why that was.
Yeah, so the org chart was changed. The old org chart said the comptroller reported to the Board of Finance. As part of when Bob Kozlowski retired, we went through the charter to figure out, does the comptroller report to the Board of Finance? Everything that Marty found out and looked at in there said, per the charter, the assessor is hired by the Board of Finance. The comptroller is hired by the Board of Selectmen based on a recommendation from the Board of Finance. From that, it seems to be to us, to Bob Kozlowski, to Matt, myself, that the comptroller does not direct report to the Board of Finance. Once that came to light, and we realized it said differently in the annual report, we changed the annual report to be what we consider accurate.
Mike, look, I think this deserves some discussion. I also had discussions with the town attorney, I think along the same lines, probably about the same time. And the discussion we had came to the opposite conclusion. Right? Because to your point, when we look at the charter, again, whoever drafted the charter, I think was brilliant, right? Because it's very clear the comptroller doesn't get hired without this board acting. And the comptroller doesn't get fired without this board acting. And I believe that was done intentionally. I'm the oldest guy here. So
By far, right.
Are you talking about the ritual charter? Look, I
Cuneiform.
became popular in the early 2000s, right, as a reaction to Enron's, the WorldComs, where there were rogue CEOs, not suggesting we have one, but there were rogue CEOs. Well, and the CEOs didn't act. And there were folks who tried to sue the CEOs for not bringing up the fact that they didn't highlight that the CEO was rogue. And as you may recall, when you guys were all doing your grammar school reports from the week of news, those CFOs, for the most part, were all basically found innocent or not liable because they had no duty. There was no stated duty to keep not only the CEO informed, but the equivalent of an accounting board or some other agency. And that's why I think it's very important. And maybe we need Marty to come in again, because the discussions he and I had, I think, brought us to a different conclusion, that it was appropriate and intended that the controller report on here to the Board of Finance, and as provided in the charter, would be supervised on a day-to-day basis by the first select. So I'm a little troubled, frankly. Like I get it, we're all kind of working through this for the first time. I'm a little troubled that the first time we hear about it is in the report. I would hope from now on this is a transparency point, and it's not a typo, right? It's not a misspelled word. It's not a juxtaposed number. It's not something that we would all say unilateral or unilateral. It's obvious. And so that to me means we probably should have discussed it. But look, lessons learned, right? We can figure that out. I would suggest that we think about this and talk about this. And do what we need to do to either get this corrected or issue. And I can't imagine in today's world, it's difficult for Joe to reissue these financial statements, right? How many does it come down? 40.
Hold on, Bob, it's hard to hear you, but I did hear most of what you said. I just want to say, I agree with you 100%, and it was kind of surprising to me because I've always known that organizational chart for years and years and years, and it was startling to me to see that. I think it merits actually to be on an agenda because you could make charter interpretation is one thing, but the idea behind it, the spirit of the law, if you want to look at it that way, I think that there's some problems, and it doesn't have to do with individuals. It has to do with just structurally. It just seems to be, makes much more sense the way Bobby and Freda just described it. So I would like to, we will put this on the next agenda because we're going to be talking about the budget process and all that. So I want to put that on as an agenda item. So is that Bobby and Freda? Matt, did you want to say something?
Yes, I wasn't privy to conversations you might have had with Marty, with the town attorney. Just to let you know, there's an identical structure that exists between the first selectman, board of selectmen, and the police commission. And under the charter, the chief of police reports directly to the first selectman, is appointed or dismissed or disciplined, whatever, by the board of selectmen, but all department policy is under the purview of the police commission. So, I mean, maybe there
I'm
is.
sorry, Matt, I'm gonna interject a point of order because I really will put this on an agenda. I don't think we need to take the time now to discuss it, if that's okay.
If you don't mind, I'm just gonna finish the point that what I was gonna say is maybe there's an opportunity to put a dotted line relationship because it's not cut and dried in either case, but it's the same. Except for, as pointed out with the assessor, where it clearly says the board of finance shall choose the assessor and the board of selectmen is completely out of it, even though on a day-to-day basis, the department head still reports to the first selectman, but it could be discussed,
Difference, well, it will be discussed. It's the difference between choosing and, overseeing. There's a difference between choosing the person and overseeing the person. That said, we've come to the end of our program. I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn. Anyone? It's not on the agenda, but we should do it. Anyone seconding that?
Second.
All in favor to adjourn? Aye. Thank you very much. Whoa, what's going on?
Can we back, we never made, and I like to make the motion to accept Brad's comptroller report.
Oh, yeah, totally sorry. Totally forgot because I got caught up in something else.
I made the motion.
Okay.
No, do I have a second for the report, Bob?
Yes.
Okay, Bob seconded it. Ellen, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Cynthia.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion for adjournment stands and we are adjourned. I hope that's all legal. Oh,
Point of order.
point of order?
Yeah, we made a motion on the floor to vote to accept the comptroller's report, correct?
And then who's voting?
Yes.
So now I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we can do that. Second, anyone? We're completely off it. People are dropping like flies, but
We have a motion.
a second. Okay,
Bob?
all in favor? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia.